I always try to bring awareness to less well-known cases. And I have to admit, until I started looking into this particular case, I had never heard of it before. I mean, it would be impossible to have knowledge of every murder that happens. But of course, some cases are more high profile than others. And the reasons why are layered and often controversial. But all of that's by the by. Every single murder leaves a victim dead. So if I can shine something of a light on a situation where someone has taken the life of another person, then I feel the need to bring some awareness. And I believe that, as a general rule, the victim should have their story told. So today we'll be going back to 2015 and to the little known British location of London, to look at the horrifying case of the senseless murder of Josh Hanson. This is Murder of Crows. Joshua Hanson was born on Sunday the 27th of February 1994 at Central Middlesex Hospital at 3:24 AM, weighing a very bonny 7 pounds 10 ounces. He was happy and carefree, as all babies should be, and grew into a curious and inquisitive toddler who was full of beans. Josh was a happy young boy who was very friendly and welcoming to all of those around him. He had an infectious smile and an even more infectious laugh. His older sister Brooke was 4 years older than Josh, and they were very, very close from the word go. From the moment Brooke met her baby brother, she held him in a way that was caring and loving. Josh adored his older sister too, and he was as protective of her as she was of him. They would spend hours on end playing happily, and it was a bond that continued as they grew into adults, sharing holidays, nights out, and even many of the same friends. As he got older, while not necessarily academic, he was nonetheless a capable student, and he achieved 5 GCSEs before going on to West Hertfordshire College in Watford, and it was here that he studied for a BTEC qualification in sports science. And alongside this, he also qualified to become a personal trainer. But whether he felt this sort of role didn't quite suit him, he looked around for something that maybe he thought might be a better fit. And that's something I would always encourage young folk to do. A qualification does not tie you to any role or career. You should always look for what is going to make you happy. And that's exactly what Josh did. During the summer after getting his qualifications, he was looking at other possible roles. And he decided to apply for a job as a planner for Stanmore Quality Surfacing Limited. And he was offered the position the day after his job interview. And Josh very quickly became an integral part of the team. And he excelled in his role, and all around him thought that he was destined for bigger things. Josh liked the job, and it certainly seemed that the job, along with his co-workers and his bosses, also liked him. It seemed that Josh was taking the early steps in a career that really seemed to suit him. Things were looking very, very bright until a seemingly normal night out on Saturday, October the 10th, 2015. Well, that was when Josh headed out with his girlfriend to meet up with his cousin and some other friends who were bar hopping in Eastcourt, which is in the West End side of London. So it was Saturday when they headed out, but it had rolled over into Sunday, October the 11th, and it was approaching 1 AM by the time Josh and his gang got to a place called the Rebar. Now, about half an hour before Josh and his entourage arrived at the bar, another man was having a night out with friends. A man by the name of Shane O'Brien. The two would cross paths sometime after Josh had arrived at the bar, and their momentary interaction would have seismic implications. In a matter of a 10-second meeting, numerous lives would be changed forever as ripples radiated out from this one moment in time. In those few seconds, O'Brien had drawn a Stanley knife, or box cutter for our American friends, across the throat of the 21-year-old. 27-year-old O'Brien then just calmly walked away, leaving Josh with a 15-inch gaping wound across his throat. Josh was pronounced dead around half an hour after he was slashed. Such was the catastrophic nature of the injury that he suffered. The devastating effect of the blow was so severe that no amount of intervention could save Josh Hanson's life from the injury that was inflicted. He fell to the floor and he appeared to lose consciousness. By pure chance, one of those present in the bar was an off-duty nurse, and she did what she could to help. Josh had sustained a very large gaping wound from the left side of his neck, across and over his chest, going almost to the right armpit. Josh's heart flatlined and the emergency services stopped trying to revive him at 1:40 a.m. which was, as I said, only about half an hour after the injury had been sustained. The chilling CCTV footage reveals how innocuous the interaction seemed, and how it allowed O'Brien to make his exit before anyone really realized the impact of what had just happened. What would follow this harrowing night would be a 4-year process that stretched across Europe, where police always seemed to be one step behind the vicious cockwomble. Speaking after the evil shit biscuit was arrested, charged and finally convicted, the DCI in charge of the investigation, a man named Noel McHugh, described the pursuit of O'Brien and how it changed from a simple police manhunt to more of a personal quest to see O'Brien face justice. DCI McHugh said, "The 4-year investigation has been heartbreaking, overwhelming and all-consuming for the team of officers. The impact on Josh's mum Tracy and sister Brooke has been incomprehensible. But I am incredibly proud of what my team have achieved. Working alongside Josh's family and the extraordinary and outstanding work that has taken place to convict O'Brien. Seizing the CCTV from the bar was so crucial to our early investigation, and we raced our engineer across London on blues and twos because we knew that attempts were being made to destroy the footage. This fast response meant we could quickly prove O'Brien's identity as the man that we sought via fingerprint work on the cups that he drank from that night. At that stage, we didn't know a great deal about him, but call it instinct if you like. Somehow this felt different from other murders. O'Brien's image was quickly publicised, and detectives got the lead, which took them to the Camber Sands caravan park on the south coast of the UK, where O'Brien had been hiding out, with McHugh saying, "There followed painstaking and time-consuming work to examine CCTV in and around the caravan park and try to work out if he was there and what car he had travelled in. We found a black VW Golf that fitted the facts. That enabled us to track its movement, and then from there what O'Brien did in the time following his attack on Josh. And what we saw was astounding. You would never know that this man had just killed another in cold blood. O'Brien was seen casually enjoying a curry with a friend, posing in front of a mirror, and even getting the leftovers in a bag to take home. Then spending a couple of hours at Ashford designer outlet. You'd think a man in his position might quickly grab the first thing on the shelf and make off. But no, as CCTV shows, he carefully selected and tried on trousers and shirts even asking a shop assistant for help with collar sizing at one point. Always paying in cash. He was careful about that. McHugh went on to say that the police were just 12 hours behind him as he shopped in Ashford, but his connections and criminal links allowed him to hire a plane to the continent, as you do. With McHugh saying, "It was a theme throughout the investigation. O'Brien's ability to travel on false documentation and travel undetected through countries using private planes and highly encrypted phones, costing around £3,000 apiece. He had no job in the UK, no bank account, and he spent his summers in Ibiza and had returned home just a couple of weeks before Josh's murder. Most of our manhunts last a few weeks or months, and the suspect might flee to another country within the UK, usually relying on family and limited funds, but not O'Brien. The hunt was on and we followed up every single potential sighting. You just never knew. Some were frustratingly intended to distract and mislead the investigation by tying up our resources to follow a line of inquiry that came to nothing. But they were far outweighed by the many well-intentioned calls, and lots were very credible. At Christmas 2017 we had news that he was at a tanning shop in West London. It sounded unbelievable he could be so close to home, but CCTV showed a man who looked very similar to O'Brien. Extensive work would discount this promising lead. But then in Prague his temper boiled up, leading to his arrest for a scuffle in a nightclub. A mistake on his part, or maybe not. He was so confident and arrogant when arrested, it was clear that this was no big deal for him. He was bailed because it was a low-level offence. But fingerprints were taken, and later proactive computer searches that we had requested revealed his true identity. While frustrating, we were so close. We had new images we could publicize, and they showed a man who looked really fit and strong. He had boxing gloves on him when arrested, and this gave us leads to follow up in local gyms. Plus we traced a barber who had cut O'Brien's hair several times. O'Brien said that he was Australian, but didn't have the accent to match. We also found the tattooist he had visited to cover up his existing tattoos. We still hadn't got our hands on O'Brien, but it was progress, and it was hope. Every little bit of information we obtained helped us build up a picture, and was another piece of the puzzle towards finding him. There were several arrests along the way. The man who chartered the plane and accompanied O'Brien out of the UK was later convicted of importing 100 kilograms of heroin and cocaine, along with 30 of those encrypted phones. The pilots were convicted in the Netherlands of importing more than 90 kilograms of heroin. O'Brien certainly had some interesting friends. Finally, on the 21st of March 2015, McHugh got a call from O'Brien's lawyer, based in the UK, saying O'Brien was considering handing himself in and wanted me to travel to Budapest to personally meet with him. McHugh, understandably, couldn't help wondering if this was just another game, with the policeman saying, "My immediate thought was, why? Really, he could have walked into any police station and handed himself in as one of the world's most wanted men. Was this a trick to waste our time and resources, getting out there only to find he was long gone somewhere else?" Then it changed, and we were told that the meet location was now in Romania. We were then able to alert the Romanian authorities, who did some brilliant work, and they got him, and he was detained with 3 mobile phones and counterfeit documentation. DCI McHugh was there in person to watch the plane land when O'Brien was flown back to Britain, with him saying, "For me, those 3.5 years until we got him were a lens into the pain a family without justice can suffer." O'Brien was taken to Heathrow police station, and I personally charged him. Not something a DCI would normally do, but I had to complete the story. He didn't react and didn't say anything. October 2019 saw the start of his trial at the Old Bailey in London. The trial would last for 2 weeks, with the jury seeing the footage of the attack alongside all of the other painstaking work that the police did in tracking him down and proving his guilt. The jury took just 55 minutes to convict him. He appeared on the 23rd of October 2019 for sentencing. Judge Nigel Lickley, QC, sentencing, told the killer, "On October the 11th, 2015, you murdered Josh Hanson at about 1 a.m. in the Bar in Eastcourt, in front of people you knew, those that knew Josh Hanson and others. You approached Josh Hanson, who was standing with his girlfriend, and you slashed him using a razor-sharp Stanley knife from his left ear across his neck, causing a wound 37 centimeters long that gaped to about 85 centimeters wide. You had asked him what was his problem. The wound caused bleeding to his neck. You cut his windpipe, and as a result he died as blood entered his airways. He died, in effect, from drowning in his own blood. You walked away and left Josh Hanson to die in front of his shocked and traumatized friends. Josh Hanson did not know you. He had done nothing to provoke any reaction from you, let alone violence of this sort. Your account that he had threatened you with looks and gestures was, even if true, incapable of amounting to any justification for the way that you acted. Your assertion that the injuries were caused by accident was rejected by the jury. He, referring to Josh, had not seen you holding the knife in your hand. He can have had no idea what you were about to do. This was a grotesque, violent, and totally unnecessary attack on an innocent man. The reason why you behaved in such a way may never be explained. You, however, know why you did it. Josh Hanson did not react to your question. You then raised your hand and cut him across his body in one downward rapid and forceful action. Having injured Josh, you walked calmly away, folding the knife as you left. You showed no feeling for Josh Hanson or anyone else that you left behind. You knew you had killed him. O'Brien was jailed for life with a minimum term of 26 years.
You see Josh is in the bar with his girlfriend and with friends, and Shane O'Brien is with his group. Towards the end of the evening, Shane O'Brien stands up and he uses words to the effect of "what's your problem?" At which point you can see Josh is really quite surprised, shocked, and Shane O'Brien has reached into his pocket. He's taken out a Stanley knife and he's cut Josh from his ear across to his chest. He then turns around and calmly walks out the bar and we would see that he was drinking from beakers. We recover fingerprints. We know it's Shane O'Brien, and that's how we were confident that it was him. He was wearing a Canada Goose jacket, but on that jacket there were spots of blood that were Josh's blood. Early on in the investigation, we released his picture with a serious crime reward. The phone rang and this lady, you'd seen the picture, and she believed that he'd been in the pub, and it was Ashford. He would go out with his friend, they would have beers, they looked really quite relaxed, not as if he's just killed somebody. The next thing we know is that they go to Ashford Shopping Centre, where he buys new clothing. If you'd just committed a really serious crime, you'd kind of grab whatever came to hand, but he's quite relaxed about it, very calm, and always paying in cash. And then we were so confident, we knew that we were there. Unfortunately, about 12 hours behind. Where is he going to make a mistake? We weren't actually thinking that he would have gone out on a plane. He's obviously been well supported to find out, I need to fly out of the country, I need to fly out on a private plane, no questions asked, no passport. We now know that he has travelled around Europe. So in Prague, he got into a dispute in a nightclub. It was a relatively low-level offence, but the police took photographs of him, of his back, his tattoo, which had been changed, and they took his fingerprints. They had no reason to doubt his identification, and they released him on bail. And his fingerprints would subsequently be identified as being Shane O'Brien. So we received a phone call from a solicitor who said that Shane O'Brien was contemplating handing himself in. You think, is this another ruse to sort of pull us all the way over to Romania? So we worked with the Romanian police, which would ultimately result in them detaining him. So he was flown back by our extradition unit. You're trying to, in your mind, think, why on earth did you do this? He said that he felt intimidated by Josh, that he reached forward, he never intended to connect with Josh, which in itself is really hard to comprehend or see it from O'Brien's point of view, because the cut is from Josh's ear across his chest. You want to shout, you want to grab O'Brien's arm to try and stop him. You know, we can never bring their loved one back, but we can bring some closure to the chapters of the, you know, this nightmare that they go through, and getting them the truth about what happened.
Tracy Hanson, Josh's mother, made a statement following the sentencing. On October the 11th, 2015, our lives changed forever when I received a phone call in the early hours of the morning to tell me that Josh had been stabbed in the neck. While Brooke and I were making our way to the rebar in Eastcourt, we were told that Josh was dead. We were 10 minutes away, so we never got the opportunity to say goodbye. I was denied my place as Josh's mum as he lay on the cold floor alone. I could not hold him in my arms to comfort or reassure him, if only to give him hope that everything would be okay. The aftermath of Josh's murder has left us broken beyond repair, as Josh was taken from us in the most horrific way possible. Suddenly, abruptly, viciously, and violently, and nothing will ever erase the CCTV footage of Josh's final moments from our minds, as he was struck with a knife so horrifically and callously, along with his suffering as he tried to fight for for his life. Over a period of 3 years and 6 months, and with the help and support of the public along with social media, we did all that we could to help the Metropolitan Police, the NCA, Europol and Interpol with their investigations by distributing over 70,000 wanted posters. And during the most challenging time of our lives, our faith in humanity did not leave us, as we were held up by the thousands of messages of support that we received from the public and through social media. And for this I will forever be truly thankful. Today, after nearly 4 years and shy of 2 weeks before Josh's 4th year anniversary, justice was served. A jury of 12 members of the public delivered a guilty verdict based on the evidence provided to them. Josh was innocent, and the attack on him was totally unprovoked. And we hope that a whole life term will be handed down by the judge at sentencing. While we continue to navigate through life without Josh, we shall continue to work hard to change the story about knife crime in Josh's name, as we have done since his untimely and unnecessary death. So we end this episode with Tracy Hanson's words still ringing in our ears. And once again we hear the incredible power of a mother's love and the determination that it fuels. This episode is dedicated to Josh Hanson, who was barely more than a boy when his life was cut short by 10 seconds of sheer cruelty and brutality. I send only love to Tracy and Brooke, and to all of Josh's friends and family who have had to cope with, and of course are still coping with, this horrifying loss. Thank you for watching another episode of Murder of Crows. I release episodes on a Monday and on a Friday. But if you subscribe and get your notifications turned on, then it should help you stay up to date with all of my shenanigans, and his too. Anyway, I'm Steve. This is Samson, likes to think he's a tiger. And we will see you when we see you.
TREP.